Hey everyone, I'm Chelsea Tornetto with At Home Author, and today I'm gonna... Hey everyone, I'm Chelsea Tornetto, and as you can tell from that intro, nothing ever goes the way it's supposed to the first time, and that's especially true of rough drafts. So today I'm going to teach you my 5 top tips for revising a picture book rough draft. So tip number 1 is super tricky to do because I want you to walk away from that manuscript for at least 1 week after you finish it. After you finish a manuscript, you're too close to it to do any real revision, so you really need some time away. I always say at least a week, but to be honest, sometimes I've let manuscripts sit for months at a time before I get back to them. So definitely walk away, make yourself close that file, put it away for at least a week. Tip number 2 is to think like an illustrator. So read through your manuscript with your thoughts focused on the illustrations. Picture books are obviously super dependent on engaging pictures for kids. And a lot of the times I come across manuscripts that are really just conversations between 2 characters. And if you think about illustrating a conversation, it's not that exciting. You want to make sure that your picture book doesn't have a problem like that. So as you read, imagine what could be illustrated on each page and how that could be made engaging for a young reader. Tip number 3 is going to feel a little bit ahead of yourself in the writing process, but I want you to write a pitch of your book as if you're pitching it to an editor or an agent or pitching it on Twitter to a Twitter pitch party. The reason for this is because to write a really good pitch, you have to understand the heart of your story. You have to know what's the conflict that's driving the characters. What is the theme? What's the message? What's the purpose of this book? Why did I write it? If you know those things, then you know you've got a solid story. But sometimes whenever you go to write a pitch, you realize, I don't have a really strong conflict. Maybe I should revise that and work on that. And so writing a pitch kind of forces you to dig into the meat of your story and make sure that all of that is there. Check the description below. There's a link to a video about writing Twitter pitches. And even if you don't intend to pitch on Twitter, it's a great resource for writing pitches and getting you off on the right foot. Tip number 4 is a little bit awkward and makes some people uncomfortable, but I want you to read your story out loud. Find a quiet room, close the door, read it out loud multiple times. Sometimes hearing a story can help us identify where the pacing or the flow might be off, where a sentence just sounds a little awkward when you read it. And another tip is to have, once you've read it yourself, have someone else read it out loud to you. It could be a spouse or a child, and you can even have software read it out loud to you. It sounds a little bit robotic, but there are some softwares that will read your story out loud to you. And it really does just kind of help you get some distance and hear it from a more objective point of view. And tip number 5 is probably the most important of all. You need to have a critique group that you can send your stories to on a regular basis. If you don't know where to find one, check the description below for a link to a blog post that gives you, I think it's 5 different ways that you can find a critique group. Super important to have professional eyes on every manuscript that you write. And by professional, I don't mean someone that has a degree in publishing or anything like that, but someone who is going to be analytical about it, who's not just going to read it and say, hey, great job, that's a cute story, but who's going to actually think about it and dig into that story with you to make it better. If you're not comfortable sharing your story with a critique group, you can also do paid critiques. Lots of picture book authors like myself and others offer paid critiques for anywhere from $50 to $100. They'll read your manuscript and they'll give you some really detailed and objective feedback about how to improve it. It's really hard to put your work out there and ask for feedback on it. And it's really hard overall to revise a picture book because revision means changing, and that sometimes means tearing things down before you can put them back together. But remember that every revision that you do is making your story stronger, and that's going to benefit you in the end. And that's it. Those are my top 5 revision tips for picture books. If you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe so that you can follow along with more videos about publishing children's books.